Imagine grinding your entire life to sign a multi-million-dollar NBA contract, only to watch your bank accounts drop to absolute zero. For many basketball icons, the predatory traps waiting for them off the court are far more dangerous than any defense they faced on it. From sophisticated multi-million-dollar fraud schemes to devastating family dependency traps, these pro athletes went from private jets to total financial liquidation in a matter of months. Vin Baker. Vin Baker was an absolute force in the paint during the late 1990s, earning 4 consecutive All-Star selections and an Olympic gold medal while racking up over $100 million in career NBA salary. Yet, a devastating mix of severe substance dependency and toxic business choices caused his entire fortune to evaporate into thin air. Baker's financial bleeding started with an extraordinarily lavish lifestyle, including buying multi-million-dollar mansions and supporting a massive circle of friends. However, his biggest financial blind spot was an absolute lack of financial oversight, which left him vulnerable to predatory financial management. He famously trusted an advisor who talked him into a series of disastrous corporate investments, including a restaurant venture that collapsed and cost him millions in direct capital. The situation spiraled completely out of control when Baker's personal battles with alcoholism derailed his playing career, leading to terminated contracts and a sharp end to his income. By 2008, the financial walls collapsed entirely as his nearly 10,000 square foot mega mansion in Connecticut fell into foreclosure due to unpaid mortgages. Desperate to cover his debts, Baker watched helplessly as tax liens piled up and luxury assets were seized. At his absolute lowest point, he was left with practically nothing from his playing days. Proving his resilience, Baker completely sobered up, took accountability, and remarkably took a job working as a Starbucks barista manager to support his family. He eventually clawed his way back into basketball, joining the Milwaukee Bucks coaching staff as an assistant. Coleman. Derek Coleman was selected as the first overall pick in the 1990 NBA draft, quickly living up to the hype by winning Rookie of the Year and earning an All-Star nod as a dominant power forward. Over a lucrative 15-year career spent with franchises like the New Jersey Nets and Philadelphia 76ers, Coleman accumulated over $91 million in baseline salary. But despite his reputation as a fiercely intelligent player on the court, his post-retirement business empire collapsed into one of the largest bankruptcies in sports history. Coleman did not lose his money to typical athletic cliches like wild nightclub partying or high-stakes casino gambling. Instead, his financial ruin was caused by an overly ambitious, highly risky real estate and commercial development portfolio based right in his hometown of Detroit. Coleman was deeply passionate about revitalizing Detroit, pouring millions of his own cash into local businesses, apartment complexes, a suburban shopping center, and a commercial trucking company. Unfortunately, he heavily leveraged his personal wealth to guarantee massive commercial loans right before the 2008 global financial crisis hit. When the real estate market completely tanked, his businesses lost their tenants, revenue streams went dry, and predatory lenders aggressively moved in. In March 2010, Coleman filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy protection, shocking the basketball world by listing a staggering $4.7 million in liabilities against an empty cash reserve. Dozens of creditors, including major banks and local utility companies, lined up to collect, forcing the systematic liquidation of his properties and personal collectibles. Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen is globally revered as one of the greatest defensive wing players in basketball history, a 6-time NBA champion alongside Michael Jordan, and a Hall of Famer who earned over $109 million in team salaries. Despite his legendary status, a series of shockingly bad investment decisions and borderline fraudulent advisory relationships completely crippled his financial portfolio. Pippen's financial nightmare is highlighted by a catastrophic relationship with a financial advisor recommended directly by his former team, the Chicago Bulls. This advisor was later convicted of multiple financial crimes, but not before steering Pippen into a string of terrible deals. The worst was a $4.3 million investment into a private corporate jet that turned out to be a defective piece of machinery, requiring an additional $1 million in immediate repairs just to legally fly. The financial bleed did not stop there. Pippen poured millions into failed real estate syndicates, a luxury gourmet food distribution startup that went under, and multiple construction projects that tanked during the mid-2000s housing downturn. By the time he realized the depth of the mismanagement, a massive chunk of his net worth had been wiped out. Pippen was forced to engage in years of intense, exhausting legal battles just to recover a fraction of his lost money, winning an eventual $2 million judgment against his former lawyers, but still suffering massive net losses. The financial strain became highly visible when he had to repeatedly drop the listing price of his custom Chicago mansion by millions just to secure a buyer. He resorted to doing international autograph tours and public appearances to maintain his cash flow. Jason Caffey. Jason Caffey was a rugged power forward who perfectly timed the 1990s basketball boom, winning 2 back-to-back NBA championship rings with the Chicago Bulls before signing a massive 7-year, $35 million contract with the Golden State Warriors. Over his decade-long career, Caffey cleared more than $34 million in salary, but his post-NBA life quickly descended into an absolute avalanche of legal and financial chaos. Caffey's complete downfall was driven almost entirely by an incredibly chaotic personal life and an inability to manage his relationships. He fathered 10 children with 8 different women, creating a complex web of domestic support lawsuits that instantly crippled his finances once his professional playing days came to a sudden end in 2003. Without a regular NBA paycheck, the monthly court-ordered child support payments and mounting legal fees rapidly outpaced his dwindling bank accounts. Caffey fell into massive arrears, prompting multiple judges to issue arrest warrants for non-payment. The financial pressure reached a boiling point in 2007 when he filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in Alabama, listing nearly $2 million in debts against dwindling assets. However, a federal judge threw out the bankruptcy case because Caffey failed to keep up with his mandatory court schedules and filing requirements. Soon after, he was arrested and jailed for failing to pay over $200,000 to just one of the mothers of his children. His luxury vehicles were seized, his remaining real estate holdings were foreclosed on, and his championship rings were targeted by creditors, leaving his sports fortune entirely demolished. Christian Laettner. Christian Laettner is an absolute basketball legend, widely considered one of the greatest college players of all time at Duke, before enjoying a long, highly lucrative 13-year NBA career, where he pulled in over $61 million in player salary. Yet, despite his elite pedigree and upper-class background, Laettner fell victim to massive corporate debt and predatory business partnerships. After retiring, Laettner teamed up with a former college teammate to launch a high-end real estate development firm called Blue Devil Ventures. The company specialized in massive, multi-million-dollar urban revitalization projects and commercial properties. But it relied on an incredibly dangerous strategy of borrowing millions in short-term, high-interest loans from private lenders and wealthy athletes. When the 2008 housing collapse froze commercial credit markets, Laettner's real estate empire crumbled into a mountain of defaults. He was hit with a barrage of high-profile lawsuits from creditors, including fellow sports figures like Scottie Pippen, who sued Laettner to recover millions in unpaid loans. The legal drama reached a head in 2016 when a group of frantic creditors filed an involuntary Chapter 7 bankruptcy petition against Laettner, claiming he personally owed them a mind-boggling $14 million. The court proceedings revealed that Laettner had been frantically shuffling money between accounts just to stave off total ruin. He was forced into a strict, court-supervised repayment plan that required the systematic sale of his real estate holdings, effectively wiping out the millions he spent a decade grinding for on the court. When you are a sports superstar, your circle grows fast, and unfortunately, so do the financial targets on your back. It shows that earning millions is only half the battle. Keeping it is where the real challenge begins. What do you think is the biggest trap for young athletes entering the league today? Drop your take in the comments. Smack that like button. And subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden side of sports.